Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Freedom Real Estate Group blog series. We are on number 37. My name is Mark Woodring. I'm the Director of Investments here at Freedom Real Estate Group. I'm joined today by Mr. Randy Brown, who is our new CEO of the company. So today we're going to talk a little bit about 1031 exchanges and cost segregation studies in lieu to a podcast that we're going to be doing a little bit later in the series as well. I know that when I'm working with some of our investors and we're talking about 1031 exchanges, they always have questions like, when is it an appropriate time to do that? Or, will this fall into that? Do you?
Yeah, so when you're unpacking whether a 1031 exchange makes sense to you, and so just to back up just a little bit first, something about the way you were doing the intro there, it kind of reminded me of something that happened when I was a kid. So my dad used to work for the road service and road maintenance and stuff. And so when I was maybe 10 or 11, something like that, he lost his job. And it was because they said he was stealing. I was like, what? Right. My dad drives a bus for a church. Like, he's a good dude or whatever. And then I came home. And all the signs were there.
Awesome.
Man. Right? All right. So all the signs were there, the street signs.
Right.
Okay. So people, I don't mean to cut you off, but in a former life, tax strategy was, my primary focus. It still really is, a large focus for me. But tax strategy was a way to, like, in the accounting world, to actually make meaningful impact on clients' lives. And so it doesn't matter how much money you make, one of your most expenses, or biggest expenses, most expensive items is going to be taxes. And so when you're talking about real estate investing, a 1031 exchange it's a huge tool. And then, saving taxes along with the cost segregation study. And there's no way to really unpack in this vlog series all of the nuance that goes in and out of a 1031 exchange. So that's why we're going to do a podcast next week about it. But just touch base about the 1031. Basically what that is it's a strategy where if you have gain in a buy and hold or a long-term hold investment, real estate investment really works for things other than real estate, but in the real estate world, you bought something for, say, $100,000. During that time, it's appreciated $200,000. And just to keep the math easy, how can we best navigate the tax implication that would come from that $100,000 of spread, right? Now, for people who are going to come at me or whatever, I understand that there's more spread, right? We depreciated the property. We also have other nuance in there, like we had closing costs and things like that that would be part of our basis. But what happens is the government has given us a tool where we can put those funds with an intermediary and then get into a new property and kick that tax consequence down the road.
Sure.
Right. So go back to your original question, when do you do a 1031 exchange? You do a 1031 exchange when it makes sense, right?
When you've made money,
right? If you're
and all the stars in alignment,
right? If you haven't made any money on the deal, then you're not going to do a 1031 exchange. If you need immediate access to all the cash,
right?
You can't do a 1031 exchange.
I was going to say, because they just changed this tax law in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, and it's only on investment properties, right? It used to be on other things, but now the 1031 is only for real estate, correct?
Well, it has to be the same type. So it's 366 days. You have to own the property for 366 days. So it's a long-term investment.
Gotcha.
When I say it's available for other things, like these things, this whole law came into fruition about like chickens being exchanged for cows and land and farmland and stuff like that, where there wasn't any actually realized gain. Right. That's one of the calculations. It's boot. When you're doing the calculation, no money exchanged hands. So my net worth may have gone up by a certain amount of money, but I didn't receive any money.
Sure.
Right? Because I got this for that. instead of getting cash for this.
Gotcha.
Right.
So this is not like there's no fix and flip. This is not set up for somebody that just wants to buy a property, put some money into it, make equity, and turn around and then try to, defer that tax.
It's definitely not for a fix and flip.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
So,
it's a long term. It's buy and hold.
Okay,
Yeah,
very
it's
good.
investment. So one of the first steps in making sure that a 1031 makes sense to you is to do the basis calculation.
Yep.
Right. What was my cost to get into the property?
Mm-hmm.
How much have I depreciated tax wise
Right.
in the time that I've held it? What have I done to improve the property?
Right.
What it costs to get into the property? And then project out what my costs to sell are going to be, if any improvements I need to make. But you need to apply your tax rate and see, okay, this is the incremental change it's going to make.
Sure.
But let's just say you're at a 15% tax rate on that deal where we just talked about $100,000. That's $15,000 of real money that can roll into your next deal.
Right.
And a lot of people like to start their portfolio small,
Mm-hmm.
right? They get into 3, 4, 5 single families,
Yeah.
and then they use that accumulation of wealth to move into larger properties, and then over time move into bigger properties and things like that. And that is a huge tool where you don't have to take that $15,000 of fuel out of the engine as you're, driving the car down the
Yep.
path to wealth and real estate.
Right on. And some of the things that I try to point out to our future investors are there's many rules that come with it, but the ones that you obviously want to pay note to are the timelines.
Timelines for sure.
You know what I mean? And so the timelines, if I'm not mistaken, are that you have to identify the property, or is it up to 3 properties within 45 days? And then after you've identified the property, you then have an additional 135 days to take possession and close on it. That's right?
So
There's some-
yeah. I mean, the additional 135 days. So yes, what you're saying is correct. It's real easy to just say I've got 45 days to identify and 6 months to close.
Right.
Right, and it's all from the day of the money going to the intermediary.
Right.
The main thing to remember is this money is going to a third party who's going to manage those funds.
Yep.
And then you have a certain amount of time. But this, for the vlog, we're just going to kind of
Yep.
high level. We'll dig into all those weeds and that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff on the next. In fact, I think that was probably enough of a teaser.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna say
to get there, So
absolutely. So end of the day, obviously, a 1031 is something that you can help with alleviating your tax liability on investment properties, rolling that over, timelines, lots of rules. These are things that we're definitely going to get into on the podcast.
We didn't even talk about cost segregation
yeah,
studies.
exactly. So
Oh my goodness. These time constraints, what is going on with these things?
You're
man?
definitely going to have to tune into that, fountain of knowledge over here who is going to just, going to have you.
Cost segregation studies, Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Oh my goodness. If building an empire and letting that engine run is part of your goal, then these things have, obviously you've heard these terms before, so we're going to take time to just kind of break them down and maybe run through some examples.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing this. I pulled him in.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, you got to record this with me. So he brought the encyclopedia with him and that kind of stuff. Now he's director of investments, so he knows all this stuff too, but I put him on the spot and he did a great job. So
absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, invest smart.
Live happy.
You got it. Thanks.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions and information on this show are not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss.